Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of STEM Girls Virtual. My name is Emily, and I'm here on behalf of Cincinnati Museum Center. On this show, we talk about different careers in the STEM fields, those fields being science, technology, engineering, and math. Today is an extra special STEM Girls because we're speaking with IFTHN Ambassador and chemist Helen Tran. Helen, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. So like I said in your intro, you're a chemist. Can you tell us what about chemistry in particular interested you and why you studied it in college?
Yeah, so actually, when I started college, I really wanted to be an architect or some sort of designer, but it wasn't something that was financially feasible for my family. So I decided to take the standard entry courses for science and engineering in college, and I found myself really falling in love with organic chemistry. So why? There are different ways of studying organic chemistry. It could be complete memorization, which isn't really enjoyable or really effective long term for learning. For me, when I was studying in organic chemistry, it was sort of like being a molecular architect. You have to design the molecule, and you have to design how are we going to build that molecule, what tools or what reactions are we going to use. And so organic chemistry was like architecture at the molecular scale. And I found that super appealing to me. Like what sort of blueprints can I have, and will I finally build the molecule. And so organic chemistry was what started my interest in chemistry.
That's really awesome. And I love the term that you said, molecular architect. I think that's really cool. So you were obviously interested in art from a young age. Were you also interested in STEM? And now, do you think your passion for art contributes to your work as a chemist?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When I was younger, I really liked my STEM classes, but at heart, I really liked my art classes more. So, I remember being in middle school and taking a chemistry class, but I tried to finish my laboratory experiments as early as possible so that I can go over to my art class and continue my pottery. And I remember asking the teacher, like, hey, I finished early, half an hour, can I go over to the art class? And I think he was a little disappointed, but he let me. And so I was always sort of really focused on art, but it wasn't until I started learning that chemistry is everywhere, from our clothes to our phone to the glazes on that I use for pottery, that I became really interested in chemistry. Like what chemistry is sort of like tools for me to manipulate the world. Like I can make new types of materials, and the art side is where my ideas are generated. Sure, chemistry, I can make new things, but you need art, you need inspiration to think about what sort of new materials do I want to make? How do I want to make it? And so I think it's very useful to have a passion for art and design as a chemist.
Yeah, and I think, sometimes kids are told focus on one thing and become really good at that one thing. But I think it's also
Mm,
important to have lots of interests. And like you just said, that your work as an artist and as a chemist do work well together and
mm-hmm,
contribute to you doing a really good job. So I think that's really great to have a balance
mm-hmm,
in both of
mm-hmm,
those things. Yeah, yeah. So you did work at Stanford on making
mm-hmm.
electronics stretchable and recyclable. This sounds really cool. Can you tell us what the purpose of that was? And it sounds really awesome.
Okay, yeah, no, it is awesome. So I'm looking at you through my laptop. So think about your laptop, think about your phone, think about your iPad. Everything is really hard. And think about our bodies. We're super soft. And so if we can make electronics super thin and stretchable, then it would change how we interact with our electronics, and there could be new types of technologies. So for instance, you can imagine a super thin tattoo that goes on your skin, and it can replace your phone. It has all the functionality, but it's super thin, much more comfortable and lighter. And also because it's super close to our skin, we can start doing new things like monitoring our health vitals all the time. And so it's really important that if we put a device like that, like some sort of tattoo on our skin, that the electronics need to be able to stretch a little bit. And that's because, our skin and our body is constantly moving. So the electronics need to move with our bodies. And so, one step beyond that is, can we also make these electronics recyclable or biodegradable? And the reason why I'm interested in this is, at one side, from an environmental standpoint, we don't want to just throw our electronics into, the ocean and just contaminate the ocean. If we can design it in such a way that these materials can be taken apart and recycled and remade into brand new devices, that would be really helpful. Also, if we make them biodegradable, we can sort of do crazy things. We can start putting them inside our bodies and have them, help us treat a disease, and then after a certain amount of time, just have it naturally dissolve. And so that's why I'm really interested in thinking about how can we design new types of materials so that we can make our electronics, which are typically really hard and rigid, and turn them to be soft and stretchable and recyclable and biodegradable.
Yeah, I find that really fascinating. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I wear an insulin pump. And it's great to have. It's small, but it's very hard. I wear it on a clip a lot. So that the idea of thinking that I could just put it on my arm or something that would help control and maintain blood sugars is amazing. Or you could take a pill or something to like help make your pancreas work. Like fascinating.
It's like so many ideas.
Yeah, no, that is so cool. I'm like geeking out over here. Amazing. So that sounds like really awesome work, but you're also an If Then ambassador. So can you tell us what the purpose of If Then is and what your role is as an ambassador?
Yeah. So If Then is an initiative to power women in STEM. And they do that by supporting each ambassador's, personal project, some sort of outreach project, providing media opportunities, or help us build our network. For instance, like If Then is what connected you and I today.
Yes.
And so as an ambassador, we serve as relatable and inspiring role models for the next generation of pioneers, such as the girls watching this right now.
That's really neat. And again, you're moving to Canada soon, and we're in Ohio, but we're still able to learn about the work you're doing. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah. So good for technology. Yeah. So as your role as a chemist, you've probably faced some very challenging days. What to you is the most challenging thing about being a chemist?
The most challenging thing about being a chemist is things don't go the way you plan all the time. So, let's say one day I design a molecule and it takes step 1, 2, 3, 4 to make the molecule. But I go through and do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and I don't end up making that molecule. And so what I have to do is sort of think about, okay, which step didn't work? Why didn't it work? What can I look in my chemistry toolkit to try that will help me get to the right design? So it's a challenge because you really have to think about it like a puzzle, and you spend a lot of time designing things and trying it out, and it doesn't work. So you have to go back from the starting point and try again. And I think that could be the most challenging part. Also, if you run out of ideas, right? So that's why you need to talk to your friends and collaborators and figure out who can give you a different perspective on that.
Yeah, and to kind of hop on to what you just said, where you ended your answer there, you've presented your research all around the world. So it sounds like to you already that collaborating is really important as a scientist, but can you tell us why that would be?
Yeah. So, when we talk to people who are different from us, so different cultures, different socioeconomic status, different parts of the world, we get exposed to different perspectives and ideas. And as chemists, we're trying to solve these very difficult problems. So I have one way of solving that problem, and it might not work. So I need your perspective, and then another person's perspective. And when we're coming from different places, we have a variety of perspectives. So we have multiple ways of trying to solve this problem. And it's not just that, it's when we come together, we are able to build off of each other and maybe even come up with new ideas. So it's really important to, go and share your work with different people. So I present my work and then I present, here are some challenges. What do you guys think? And getting that feedback allows me to push my science further.
Yeah, that's great. And it, again, is another creative way of solving
Mm-hmm.
problems to see how
Mm-hmm.
other people work through a problem or work through an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be like a really exciting opportunity to get to meet others who are interested in the same things as you, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
study it in a different way. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that'd be exciting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you talked a little bit about the challenges you face as a chemist. What are some of your favorite things, or your favorite thing about being a chemist?
Hmm. The challenges are also my favorite things, because what I really love about my work is the design aspect, So even though it's a challenge because sometimes it results in failure, um, the the most enjoyable part is sitting down and sort of designing. Okay, I want to make this molecule. How do I get there? I have reaction A, reaction B. Oh no, I have to do reaction B, then A. So designing how to build the molecule is super, super fun for me. It's really like architecture, but at the molecular level.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have what's the most memorable day you've had as a scientist? Maybe is a better way of saying that. Is there one day in particular that kind of sticks out to you?
Mm. Yeah, so sometimes with chemistry, when you're doing a reaction, you might start with a white powder and you end up with a white powder. So it's really hard to tell the difference between, white powder one, white powder two, did the reaction work? You can do different analytical experiments, put it in an NMR or some sort of machine that helps us analyze the identity of the molecule. And then we can look at the peaks and, figure out, okay, our reaction did work and you made a brand new molecule. But, it still looks the same. So I think the most memorable memory for me was when I was an undergraduate. I designed a very special polymer. So it had a very specific sequence, just like the proteins in our body. And when you take this material, dissolve it in water, and then shake it up, I put a dye and looked at it in a microscope. And what you see was this white powder, a tiny amount of white powder. It's self-assembled into this brand new two-dimensional architecture that I can see by my eye. And so that what happened there was my understanding of designing the molecule so that they come together and they built this larger material that I can actually see with my eye. And so that was the most memorable experience in my life, and really got me interested in designing polymers, so large molecules, and how they can self-assemble to really interesting 2D and 3D architectures.
Oh, wow. And it
Mhm.
happened a few years ago, it sounds like, but I can even tell just by talking to you that you're still excited to talk about it. So like that's really awesome. That something that
Yeah.
happened a few years ago, you're still excited about. That's really cool.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So if someone else is interested in learning more about chemistry, where should they go to learn more? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, many. So, now more than ever, there are so many resources online to learn about chemistry. Definitely check out the AAAS If Then collection. There are a few of us who are chemists in there. I really like chemistryshorts.org. And so they're putting together high quality videos that explain why and how chemistry has the power to transform our world. So for instance, how can we use chemistry to capture the carbon dioxide in our environment and reduce the climate change effects, right? In addition to chemistryshorts.org, I really like Dr. Boyd the Chemist's video on YouTube, and the American Chemical Society has a section called Adventures in Chemistry. And so all of these contain experiments that you can even do at home, and watch the videos that explain what sort of chemistry is actually happening.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And especially with school starting up, some people are going to be
Mm-hmm.
doing homeschool or,
Mm-hmm.
going in school a little bit and then
Mm-hmm.
going to school at home. So I think having resources
Mm-hmm.
like that will be very valuable to parents and guardians
Yeah.
over these next
Mm-hmm.
few months, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I only have one more question for you, and that is, what advice would you give to young women and girls who may be interested in a career in the STEM field?
Yes, I think you should be comfortable with failing fast. Accept that it was a failure, learn from the mistake, and then try something new. Try it again, give it another shot. Don't give up. So instead of lingering on like, oh no, I failed, I don't want to try it again because it's embarrassing, it's okay. Just accept it, learn from it, and try again. I think in STEM, there's a lot of failure. So I fail like nearly every day, but it's okay. I like to fail fast and learn from it and move forward. And I think that's a really important lesson for a lot of people, especially in STEM.
Yes, I need to remind myself of that every day, that it's okay to fail. So grown-ups that are watching, it's okay for you to fail too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Helen, and
Hmm.
good luck starting your new job up in Canada. And
Hmm.
thank you everyone for watching today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.